Hello everybody, Treno here, and today we are going to look at the Churchill NA75, which is going to be coming out in the Sky Guardians update. Now, you might notice the turret looks a little bit different from the Churchill Mark III, which is the tank before it. The NA75 comes between the 3 before the 7, and that's because it uses a cast turret. The Churchill Mark III used a welded turret, only a few hundred of these were actually made. The Churchill Mark IV was the most produced variant, and basically they didn't have enough armour that was suitable for welding, so they had to go back to a cast turret. And basically where the NA75 comes in, basically NA stands for North Africa, is a lot of Churchill tanks were left behind in North Africa. So they were available to be used, but they weren't, and basically it was because the 6-pounder gun was excellent for anti-tank work, not so good for anti-infantry work. The British just prefer to use the Sherman tanks, which maybe weren't as good in the anti-tank role, but were superior in the infantry role. And basically, a Captain Percy Morrell of the Royal Electrical and Mechanical Engineers came up with the idea of taking the Mantlet and 75mm guns from damaged Sherman tanks and putting them into the Churchill. And so we have a tank that has the 75mm Sherman gun, which of course means APHE shells, or technically APC-BC shells with explosive filler. But basically, that is a thing that most British tanks don't have. They are generally solid shot only. So this is going to be absolutely great for taking down enemy tanks and improving post-penetration damage. And as I said, this is a cast turret. For some reason it seems to be thinner than on the Churchill Mark III. This is 76.2mm. Churchill Mark III is 89.9. I was under the impression they had the same thickness, but that the Churchill Mark IV weighed a little bit more because of it's supposed to have 89mm of armour. So I don't know if they've just copy-pasted that from the Mark III and not updated it for some reason. Again, as many of you have watched this channel before know, cast armour in-game has a 0.94% multiplier, so basically it doesn't actually provide 76mm of protection. Indeed, it is actually nearer to 72mm of protection. So this is going to be significantly worse than the Mark III with regards to armour, but it is only 0.3 of a battle rating higher, and of course it will have worse ammunition for pure penetration. So 78mm at 500 metres with AP. The APHE shell is 90mm. Compare that to the Mark III, and it starts off with 94mm. Next shell has 93 and goes up to 110mm. But we're going to quickly take this out on a test drive and just show it off. Now, unfortunately, I can't show the APHE shell because I don't have it unlocked. And also there's a bit of a weird glitch. You can tell this is definitely not finished because might be able to just see at the top of the screen there. That is a smoke grenade. So if we just press G, there we go. And if we just wait for it to reload, there it goes, pops back into existence. The machine gun is also not quite modelled correctly. Basically, this couldn't elevate as far as the main gun, but of course there was limited elevation within the turret. For some reason in-game it just seems to be fixed, which of course it wasn't in real life. And of course this will play pretty much the same as the Churchill Mark III with regards to speed and crew. And yeah, this seems to be a very good improvement. The addition of APHE shells is going to be a great boon to the British tech tree, I think. As that has been one of the main complaints for a long time, solid shells don't necessarily do the best in-game. And so adding the Churchill NA75 is a very good compromise, or a very good way of rectifying some of those issues, albeit only at battle rating 4.3 and only for one tank. Although you can see the armour piercing shots are still doing pretty well here. It's not like they're doing awful, and you can see down the bottom right there, it does now tell you what shell killed target, which is pretty useful. So, that is the Churchill NA75. And like I say, I think this is going to be a great addition to the British tech tree. And yeah, I can see this being a very popular tank. I'm going to have to research it soon anyway, because I am currently on the Churchill Mark III. So yeah, like I say, great addition to the British tech tree. Anyway, that is the Churchill NA75. Hope you've enjoyed the video on it. I've been Toreno, and I'll see you next time.